I always believed family came before everything, until the day my own sister dragged me into court for saving her life. She used my love, my money, and my trust, and when she couldn't take more, she tried to destroy me. My name is Emily Carter. I've always been the one who fixes things, the one people call when their world falls apart. And for my younger sister Lena, I was everything. Ever since our parents died, I became her guardian, her voice of reason, her safety net. Lena was different from me, wild, reckless, the kind of person who'd jump first and figure out where she landed later. But she had a charm that made everyone forgive her, including me. When she met Mark, I thought she had finally found her anchor. He seemed nice, a steady, confident man who promised her the world. But soon, the phone calls started. Crying, screaming, accusations. Every time I was the one who picked up. "Emily, I can't do this anymore," she'd sob. "He says I'm worthless. He says no one would ever want me." I'd listen for hours, trying to hold her together with words. I paid her rent when she left him, bought her groceries when she couldn't afford to eat, and convinced her to see a lawyer when she finally said she wanted out. I told myself, this is what family does. When she filed for divorce, it was brutal. Mark emptied their bank accounts, sold her car, and left her buried in debt. She had nothing left. Her lawyer quit halfway because she couldn't pay. So, she called me again. "Please, Emily, you're all I have. I just need enough to finish this. I'll pay you back, I swear." I didn't think twice. I used my savings, almost $40,000, money I'd been saving for a house. I paid her legal fees, her bills, everything. When the divorce finally went through, she hugged me and cried into my shoulder. "You saved me, Em," she whispered. "I'll never forget this." I believed her. I truly did. For a few months, things felt normal again. She was free, smiling, posting pictures of a new life, dinners, shopping, a new car. I was happy for her. She deserved to start over, until I realized something was off. She wasn't working, she wasn't paying me back, and the car she posted online wasn't rented. It was hers. When I asked, she smiled and said, "Oh, Mark finally sent part of the settlement." I wanted to believe her, but a few weeks later I got a call that changed everything. It was Mark. His voice was cold, almost amused. "You do realize your sister's been telling people you gave her hush money, right? That you were part of her divorce deal." My stomach twisted. "What are you talking about?" "She says you helped her cover things up. That's why she's planning to sue you." "Sue me?" I whispered. "For what?" I didn't even finish the call. I just grabbed my coat and drove to her apartment. When she opened the door, she looked different, confident, expensive. She was wearing designer clothes, sipping wine like she had no care in the world. "Emily," she said softly, "you shouldn't have come without calling." "What's going on, Lena?" I asked. "Why is Mark saying you're threatening to sue me?" Her expression shifted. The warmth vanished. "Because you owe me," she said flatly. "Owe you. I paid for your divorce. I gave you everything I had." She laughed. This cold, hollow laugh that didn't sound like her. "You didn't give it to me. You invested in me, and I think I deserve more." I stared at her, frozen. "Are you out of your mind?" "My lawyer says I can sue for emotional damages. You pressured me to sign papers under stress. You remember that, right?" I did remember. The day she begged me to help her file those same papers, the ones that freed her. That night, standing in her doorway, I realized the truth. My sister wasn't lost. She was gone. Replaced by someone who saw me as a wallet, not family. When the legal notice arrived a week later, I just sat there staring at it. She had actually done it. She filed a civil suit against me, claiming I exploited her during her divorce. $40,000, my love, my trust, all twisted into something ugly. I should have cried. But instead, I felt something else rising inside me. Quiet, cold, and certain. If she wanted a fight, she was about to get one. The first time I walked into that courtroom, I felt like I was walking into a nightmare. Lena was sitting there, composed, smiling faintly at me as if we were strangers. The judge glanced at me, and I gripped my bag tighter, feeling the weight of every dollar I'd spent, every hour I'd stayed awake to support her, and every tear I'd wiped from her face. Her lawyer spoke first, painting me as a manipulator. Ms. Carter used her sister's vulnerable state during the divorce to control and exploit her. She pressured her into signing papers, and now seeks to avoid responsibility for her actions. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Me? After everything I had done for her? The next few weeks were hell. I couldn't sleep, eat, or think straight. Friends whispered, "Are you sure you can win?" But I had no choice. I couldn't let her rewrite the story of my love and sacrifice. I started going through every piece of evidence I had. Bank statements, texts, emails, photos of her living situation before the divorce. Everything she had begged me to pay for. Every late-night call she had made. I realized I didn't just have proof. I had a story that was stronger than her lies. Sitting alone one night, I allowed myself to feel the anger. Not the blind, burning kind, but a sharp, controlled fire. How could she turn everything I did out of love into something I was guilty for? How could someone I loved more than anything see me as an enemy? I knew I had to fight, but I also knew this wasn't just about winning money back. It was about exposing the truth, showing her that love and loyalty aren't weaknesses to be exploited. I decided on a plan. Not a reckless, impulsive revenge, a careful, deliberate one. I would let the evidence speak for itself. I would show the court every text, every transaction, every call. I would show that my money was given freely, without conditions, and that her claims were not only false but desperate. The day of the hearing arrived, and Lena looked the same, confident, untouchable. I felt a pang of sadness for the person she had become, but I swallowed it. There was no room for sentiment here, only truth. When my lawyer presented the evidence, I watched Lena's smile falter. The texts she had sent me begging for help, the receipts showing I had paid her debts, the bank statements proving the funds were for her benefit, it all stacked like bricks against her story. And then came the testimony. I spoke quietly, honestly, calmly. I loved my sister. I still do. I didn't do this to manipulate her or take advantage. I gave her my money because she had no one else. I trusted her, and I never asked for anything in return. The courtroom was silent. Lena shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge had already seen the evidence. By the end of the hearing, it was clear who the truth favored. Lena's case was dismissed. Not only that, but the judge warned her about filing frivolous lawsuits in the future. A subtle but sharp reminder that her attempt to exploit me had consequences. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, vindication, and a deep sadness. My sister, the one I loved more than life, had become someone I barely recognized. But I had survived her betrayal, and I had proven that love is not weakness. That night, as I drove home, I reflected on everything. I had learned something important. Sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the most. But survival isn't just about defense. It's about standing tall, even when the people you trust the most try to bring you down. I didn't know if Lena would ever apologize. I didn't know if she would ever see the truth. But I knew one thing. I had taken back my power, my dignity, and my peace of mind. For the first time in months, I felt lighter. The storm of betrayal had passed, leaving me standing stronger, wiser, and more cautious. I realized that helping someone doesn't make you weak, but blind trust can be dangerous. And sometimes, The hardest lessons come from the people you love the most. After the court case ended, life didn't magically return to normal. I was free from the lawsuit, but the bond I once had with Lena was shattered. I realized that some wounds don't heal with money or justice. They heal with time, distance, and understanding your own strength. I moved slowly, trying to rebuild my life in small ways. I returned to my routines, my work, my friends. Every day was a reminder that I had survived something few could imagine: betrayal by someone I had loved unconditionally. The hardest part wasn't the court case or the public humiliation. It was realizing how easily trust could be twisted into greed. I replayed memories of her laughter, her tears, the way she had leaned on me for everything. It hurt to think that someone I protected could betray me so completely. But I refused to let that pain define me. I started focusing on my own goals again. I saved money, invested wisely, and took time to enjoy the simple things I had neglected while I was busy being her safety net. Slowly, I began to understand that my generosity wasn't a weakness. It was my strength. But it needed boundaries. Love and help must never come at the cost of your own life and security. Months passed. I received occasional messages from Lena, vague apologies buried under excuses. I didn't respond. I realized that closure didn't always come from an apology. Sometimes it comes from acceptance. Sometimes it comes from standing tall and knowing you did everything you could without losing yourself. Friends asked if I still felt anger. At first, the fire burned bright. But over time, anger gave way to something quieter: clarity. I understood that her actions were about her choices, not my failures. I had tried to protect someone who wasn't ready to be protected, and that was okay. I had survived, and I had grown stronger. One evening, I sat on my balcony watching the sunset, thinking about how easily trust could be shattered, and how fragile love could feel. But I also thought about the resilience it takes to rise again. I realized that this experience, painful as it was, had taught me something priceless. Boundaries don't make you cold. They make you wise. Compassion doesn't make you weak. Discernment makes you powerful. Looking back, I could see the patterns I had ignored, the warning signs I had overlooked, all because I wanted to believe in the person I loved. But believing in someone doesn't mean letting them use you. And that is the lesson I now carry in my heart. I started helping others in different ways too: volunteering, mentoring, guiding people who were in situations similar to what I had faced with Lena. But this time, I was careful. I offered support without losing myself. I listened without letting my boundaries be crossed. I gave, but I didn't let giving become an invitation for exploitation. The day came when I realized I had stopped thinking about revenge or resentment altogether. Lena had her life, her choices, and her consequences. I had mine, a life rebuilt from betrayal, strengthened by lessons learned, and illuminated by the understanding that my worth wasn't defined by anyone, as greed or deception. I never imagined that helping my sister would lead to this kind of pain. But through it all, I discovered something powerful: the ability to survive betrayal, the courage to stand alone, and the peace that comes from knowing you did everything right, even when no one else appreciates it. And so I move forward, not with anger or regret, but with wisdom. I am stronger than before. I am wiser than before. I am free from the shadow of someone else's greed. Sometimes the hardest heartbreak teaches the strongest lessons. And sometimes the person who betrays you unknowingly helps you find yourself. I paid for my sister's divorce. She tried to take more. But in the end, I reclaimed more than just money. I reclaimed my dignity, my peace, and my life. And that finally is priceless.